Nestled in the heart of northern England, just 80 meters above sea level, on the banks of the Irwell and Medlock rivers, lies a city, Manchester. Its population sits at around 600,000, but when you include the surrounding districts, that number approaches 3 million. On the surface, an ordinary English city. But look a little closer and you begin to see that this city genuinely shaped the course of world history. It all started with a small fishing town. In the mid-1700s, Manchester was an ordinary settlement of a few thousand people, wet and lost in the fog. But something was taking root in that fog, one of the greatest transformations in human history. In 1764, James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny. In 1769, Richard Arkwright built a water-powered spinning mill, and then came the steam engine. Manchester found itself at the intersection of these three inventions, and within a single generation, became something the world had never seen before, an industrial metropolis. By the early 1800s, the city's population had surged to 100,000. By 1850, that number had exceeded 300,000. Factory chimneys blocked out the sky, and coal smoke settled over everything like a black veil. So much so that even the city's nickname reflected it. Cottonopolis, the city of cotton. But Manchester was more than just a city of factories. It established the world's first public library. The Bridgewater Canal, the world's first industrial canal, was built here. The first passenger railway line opened between Liverpool and Manchester. The city had become a warehouse of firsts. But this growth did not come for free. The tens of thousands of people pouring into the factories lived lives far removed from humane conditions. And the heaviest burden of that life was carried by children. During the Victorian era, children as young as 5 and 6 years old worked in Manchester's factories, shifts stretching to 16 hours a day, airless and dust-filled environments, small bodies dozing beside spinning gears. Average life expectancy in Manchester's working-class districts had fallen to just 17 years. 17! A person was losing their life before they had barely finished adolescence. When Friedrich Engels came to this city, he put down what he saw in 1845. The book was called The Condition of the Working Class in England. This book laid the intellectual groundwork for the Communist Manifesto, written jointly by Marx and Engels. In other words, the misery born of the Industrial Revolution also changed the political history of the world. Today, the vast majority of those factories are gone. In their place stand luxury apartments, cafes, and museums. But if you look carefully, you can still see the old brick walls and iron beams. The city has been built on top of history, and beneath every layer lies another story. Think of one of the world's most prestigious car brands, Rolls-Royce, the symbol of wealth, elegance, and the unattainable. So, where was this brand born? London, perhaps? Italy, maybe? No, Manchester. In May of 1904, an engineer named Henry Royce finally completed the automobile prototype he had been developing over the years in his small workshop in northern Manchester. Royce was no ordinary man. His meticulousness knew no bounds, and his perfectionism exhausted everyone around him. But everything that came from his hands was flawless. Charles Rolls, on the other hand, cut an entirely different profile, a sociable, enterprising, thrill-seeking car dealer and racing driver. The two men came together in Manchester, shook hands, and out of that meeting came the world's most famous car brand. Today, a Rolls-Royce starts at an average price of $300,000. Some special production models surpass millions. You see this car in the garages of the world's wealthiest, in royal convoys, on film sets. And the roots of all that grandeur trace back to a small workshop in a coal-dusted industrial city, Manchester. Now, let me give you a piece of information that might surprise you. When you think of vegetarianism, you might think of India, Buddhism, or modern health movements. But the place where the modern vegetarian movement was officially born is Manchester. In 1847, a religious community in the city known as the Bible Christian Church adopted the principle of not eating meat. This church was referred to as the Beefsteak Chapel, but no meat was ever eaten inside. This community pioneered the founding of the Vegetarian Society of England, which became the first official organization of its kind in the world. So the spark of a lifestyle now embraced by millions was lit in a small church tucked into a corner of coal-dusted Manchester. What comes to mind when you think of Manchester? Most likely football. And when it comes to football in Manchester, there are two names: United and City. Manchester United was founded in 1878. It started out as a railway workers' club. Over time, it moved to Old Trafford, became one of the largest stadiums in Europe, and grew into one of the clubs with the most supporters in the world. Manchester City was founded in 1880. For many years, it lived in United's shadow, but after a major investment in 2008, the picture changed. Today, City is one of the most successful clubs in Europe. The rivalry between these two clubs is not purely sporting. Historically, United became more associated with the working class, while City aligned with communities in the east of the city. So this derby carries a class-based and cultural tension within it. And that tension has at times gone far beyond football. During the Second World War, in 1940, Nazi bombing raids targeted Manchester for hours. Old Trafford was not spared from these attacks. The stadium was severely damaged, and Manchester United were forced to play at their rival city's ground for a period. Imagine it! Your own stadium has been bombed, and you are forced to go as a guest to your rival's ground. One of the strangest pages in football history. Behind Manchester's gleaming facade lies a darker story. From the mid-2010s onward, the city's streets began to witness shocking scenes. People were on the verge of collapsing into sleep while standing, their bodies making uncontrollable movements, their eyes staring into the void. The media described these scenes as a zombie epidemic. Behind it was a synthetic drug known as spice. Because its chemical composition was regularly altered, it exploited legal loopholes. It was cheap, highly addictive, and its effects were utterly unpredictable. The problem hit the homeless particularly hard. The homeless population in Manchester's city centre has grown significantly over the past decade. Rising housing prices, the erosion of social housing stock, and economic inequality all form the backdrop to this picture. While the city grows on one side with billion-dollar investments, luxury residences, and creative industries, the number of those unable to share in that growth is also rising on the other. Manchester has not yet resolved this tension, but at the very least, it is not looking away either. Alongside all of this heavy history, Manchester is also one of England's most vibrant cities after dark, and both the English and the Europeans know it. The moment the sun goes down, the city takes on an entirely different identity. Streets that seem quiet during the day fill to bursting come nightfall. From Northern Quarter to Deansgate, from Printworks to Canal Street, there is a different kind of life around every corner. Bars, clubs, hidden venues squeezed into back alleys. Some with queues at the door, some not even bothering to turn around. One of the most striking things about Manchester's nightlife is the energy of the streets. People here truly live the night. Crowds dressed lightly despite the cold, laughter, music spilling out everywhere, conversations that carry on even in taxi queues. The legendary wildness of English nightlife reaches its peak here. And of course, talking about Manchester's nightlife without mentioning the women would be an oversight. The city ranks among England's finest in this regard too. There is a profile here of women from different cultures, different styles, self-assured, and owning the night. The streets take on a visual energy all of their own because of it. Canal Street is a chapter of its own in this story. Known as Manchester's LGBTQ-friendly district, this street has welcomed all kinds of people for decades. At night, it transforms into a full-on celebration. Put simply, if you are in Manchester at night, you had better have a very good reason to go to bed early. Manchester is one of those rare cities where history and the present exist simultaneously. It carries both the pain and the triumph of the Industrial Revolution. It carries on its shoulders the passion of football, the energy of the streets, the humble origins of the world's most prestigious car brand, and the revolutionary ideas that were sparked in a small church. To understand this city is to understand how the modern world was shaped, because Manchester stands on one of the true turning points of history, and it is still standing. Goodbye.